Earthquakes hit various parts of Luzon at around 3 p.m. According to the U.S. Geological Survey, a 5.0 quake was felt in 1 kilometer west-northwest of Taysan, Batangas. A 5.9 quake also struck 1 kilometer south-southwest of Talaga, Batangas. And then a 5.7 quake was felt in Bagalangit, also in Batangas. PHIVOLCS also reports a 5.6 magnitude quake in Mabini, Batangas. Other areas were reportedly struck by the quake. These include Pampanga, Tagaytay, Laguna, and parts of Metro Manila. We're showing you photos of students at the Far Eastern University. They gathered at the school's quadrangle after feeling the tremors. At the University of Santo Tomas, students were also asked to evacuate buildings, as seen on these photos from Twitter. Here is a photo of the Basilica of the Immaculate Conception in Batangas. You can see part of the basilica has been destroyed.
Pagpakuan na niyo lang yung ulo niyo. Baka may mahulog. Teka lang, kunin ko yung gamit ko. Bilis. Yung gamit nito.
Crowds gathered close to where the blast went off. The bomb is believed to have gone off inside St. George's Church. The faithful had gathered for a church service to mark the holy day of Palm Sunday. The church is in the Nile Delta city of Tanta, north of the capital, Cairo. Churches have been targeted by attacks in the past. The most recent was in December at Cairo's largest Coptic cathedral. At least 25 people died there, many of them women and children. With a large number of wounded in this latest attack, the death toll is expected to rise.
In the wake of Friday's Stockholm truck attack, Norwegian police have set off a controlled explosion of a bomb-like device in central Oslo. They have also taken a suspect into custody. Police say the device was found in the city's Groland area, home to popular bars and restaurants as well as several mosques. The main police station is also located there. The device was found less than a kilometer away from the premise. Police declined to give information about the suspect at this moment. They did say the device had appeared to be capable of causing only a limited amount of damage.
Turning now to Sweden, a country still in shock over a deadly truck attack mowing down pedestrians in the heart of the capital. A 39-year-old suspect, you see him there, now under arrest in that case. And investigators now examining a device they say was found inside his truck.
It was Sweden's moment of terror. A stolen beer truck suddenly transformed into a massive weapon barreling down a crowded shopping street. And today we know the man authorities say was behind the wheel. Seen here in grainy security camera images released while he was on the run after the attack. He's 39 years old, originally from Uzbekistan in Central Asia, known to security services here as a possible Islamic extremist based on his social media posts, but he wasn't being monitored. And this today, he may have had a bomb in that truck.
We have found something in the truck where in the driver's seat. A technical device. We should not be there.
Overnight, a raid in a Stockholm suburb. Several people detained for questioning. The suspect, who authorities haven't named, isn't talking, and the investigation continues.
We do not know whether there are further persons involved in this act or not.
These days, most of us spend a lot of time being watched. When we walk into a store or check Facebook, someone else could find out what we're up to. In Germany's capital, where both the Nazi and East German governments employed mass surveillance, there are currently 3 separate exhibitions on the topic.
What are the consequences when the private sphere becomes smaller and smaller and we become more transparent? What sort of consequences does that have for freedom, for democracy, for personal lives?
These are some of the questions being asked at a show called Watched. Visitors are asked to consider things like the information we voluntarily share, as well as technologies used by governments and private companies. Just down the street from the museum is Breitscheidplatz. This is where, last December, a Tunisian asylum seeker drove a truck into a crowded Christmas market, killing 12 people. That attack and other episodes of violence last year prompted Germany to change its laws to allow the expanded use of video monitoring in places like shopping centers and sporting venues. Some experts question, though, how effective video alone really is.
It's a positive step because you need it to be able to conduct a proper investigation, especially if you relate to the Berlin attack in December. A lot of it was missing, the post-attack footage. On the other hand, when it's presented as a preventive magic solution, that is a problem because it's not.
Video is just one of many tools that can be used to keep tabs on someone.
My name's Kayla and yours is...
An American talking doll was recently banned in Germany. A federal agency said it could be considered an illegal surveillance device because of its microphone and internet connection. The manufacturer plans to appeal the decision. Regardless of who wins that case, it almost certainly won't be the last debate here about who might be listening in.
2 days after hitting a Syrian airbase to punish the Assad regime for a suspected chemical attack, the US is flexing its military muscle again, this time for the attention of North Korea. Amid growing concerns about Pyongyang's advancing weapons program, the Pentagon today ordered an aircraft carrier-led Navy strike group to head towards the western Pacific Ocean, near the Korean peninsula. Speaking earlier on the phone, Japan's leader said he told President Trump that we highly praise the strong US commitment to the peace and security of its allies and the world. On North Korea, we completely agreed that unity between Japan, South Korea and the US is very important. Japan's also closely watching China's response. Earlier this week, President Xi Jinping met Donald Trump in Florida, where the US leader pressed his counterpart to do more to curb Pyongyang's nuclear activities.
Japanese government officials say if Washington starts a war with Pyongyang without notifying Tokyo, the consequences could be disastrous. South Korea, on the other hand, is launching a 24/7 surveillance on its northern neighbor from next month. U.S. Marine took part in their first anti-bio drill at a military base in Japan's Okinawa while wearing masks and carrying out inspection exercises. In South Korea's Gyeonggi province, joint exercises against the potential sarin attacks were conducted by local military and the U.S. Army. The South Korean Ministry of Defense estimates that a total of 5,000 tons of chemical weapons may be Pyongyang's possession.
Less than 2 days after America's first direct assault against the Bashar al-Assad regime since the war in Syria began 6 years ago, U.S. President Donald Trump said there could be another attack if deemed necessary.
That's according to a letter sent by U.S. President Trump to Congress on Saturday, explaining his reasons for ordering a missile strike on Syria earlier in the week. Trump wrote that his orders were vital for the national security and foreign policy interests of the U.S. and that he will take additional action, if necessary, to further those interests. Under the War Powers Resolution, the president is required to submit to Congress an explanation for the use of military force within 48 hours.
CNN's been running a report that the U.S. is investigating if Russia was involved in the chemical attack in Syria's Idlib province.
Russian troops were at the airbase where this Russian drone captured the aftermath of the U.S. attack. Did the Russians know anything about the chemical bombing? Was it a Russian warplane that later bombed a hospital, treating victims, perhaps trying to destroy evidence?
Well, while the CNN report asks many questions indeed, it doesn't mention why Russia's suspected of involvement or who the channel's source was. Other Western media, which ran the story, based their reports on information from anonymous high-ranking US officials. They said, in fact, reportedly, they're unable to talk about any complicity between Russia and Syria, adding that they were assessing information to see if it showed that Russia knew anything about or assisted anything with Syria with the chemical weapons.
Well, Iran's President Hassan Rouhani has called for the formation of an international fact-finding committee to investigate the recent suspected chemical incident in Syria.
The committee must consist of neutral countries, and biased parties, including the US, must be excluded. The Syrian government turned its entire chemical arsenal over to international monitors in 2013, so it should be made clear which side has used a chemical weapon or where the weapon has come from.
President Rouhani slammed the recent U.S. missile attack on Syria as, quote, aggressive, flagrant, and against all international principles. He said the U.S. considers itself the world's leader and reserves the right to attack any country without a green light from the UN or even Congress.
Well, the Red Cross says that the United States airstrike on the Syrian base has pushed Syria into an international armed conflict. It does signal a shift for the humanitarian organisation, which previously regarded Syria's conflict as an internal civil war. A Red Cross spokesperson told Reuters that any military operation by a state on the territory of another without the consent of the other does amount to an international armed conflict.
The United States plans to impose new sanctions on Syria. Treasury Secretary Steven Mnuchin made the announcement Friday when he briefed reporters on President Donald Trump's meetings with Chinese President Xi Jinping. Although he didn't give a specific time frame, Mnuchin said the sanctions, quote, will be coming out in the near future. He also didn't mention details, but he did call them a, quote, very important tool they'd use to the maximum effect. Mnuchin's announcement follows U.S. missile strikes on a Syrian airbase.
A U.S. soldier was killed while conducting operations against ISIS in Afghanistan late on Saturday, a U.S. military spokesman said in a message posted on Twitter. The soldier was mortally wounded late Saturday during an operation in the Nangarhar province in eastern Afghanistan, U.S. Navy Captain Bill Salvin said in a message on the official Twitter account of the NATO-led Resolute Support mission. U.S. officials say intelligence suggests ISIS is based overwhelmingly in Nangarhar and neighboring Kunar province.
The clash that broke out in the French city of Ajaccio ahead of a campaign rally by French far-right leader Marine Le Pen. Nationalists chanted slogans against Le Pen during a demonstration in front of a venue where supporters are holding a rally. And some of the protesters managed to enter the hall where National Front's candidate was expected to speak, and a clash with security teams there. The room was evacuated after guards used tear gas to disperse demonstrators. In her stump speech, Le Pen attacked her rivals Emmanuel Macron and François Fillon on different issues.
A sixth day of anti-corruption rallies has taken place in Serbia following the overwhelming win of Aleksandar Vučić in the presidential election. The current Prime Minister took 55% of the ballot. However, these protesters in Belgrade claim a media blackout meant there was limited access to important information in the run-up to the vote. The people voted this way because nobody had access to the media. All television stations had restrictions, so how could anyone be informed about anything? I see this protest as showing the middle finger to the government for the first time. It acts as though it's untouchable. Thousands have been gathering daily in front of the National Assembly building, accusing Vučić of being an autocrat and his Serbian Progressive Party of corruption and of orchestrating a fraudulent election. Clashes have erupted in Caracas as thousands marched against a 15-year ban from office the government has imposed on opposition leader Enrique Capriles. Vowing to fight on, the Miranda state governor joined the rally in the Venezuelan capital. The ban from holding public office will never have an effect. It's just a ploy to demoralise us, to take hope from the people. It's to keep me from standing for the presidency, but this isn't about candidacy. It's about Venezuela, and we're going to fight to change our country. Demonstrations against President Nicolas Maduro's leftist government have been ongoing for a week, following a Supreme Court ruling to limit the powers of the National Assembly. It was later overturned, but a crippling economic crisis and shortages of basic foods and medical supplies mean discontent has been building for months.
Islamic banking is a financial system consistent with principles of Islamic rulings and Islamic economics. The model is based on profit and loss sharing, while interest on transactions is prohibited. Uganda says it is in the last stages of approving the legal framework that will guide the new Islamic banking products. During the Islamic Finance Convention for Sub-Saharan Africa, held in Uganda, financial experts said the Islamic model would be a relief to borrowers in a market like Uganda, burdened by expensive credit. Prime borrowing rates charged by local commercial banks remain considerably high, between 21 and 25%. The implementation of Islamic banking and finance is expected to help nurture small and medium enterprises, as it will give them time to grow. Most Ugandan startups are known to close within their first year. However, there are mixed feelings that the negative attitude towards Islam may affect the uptake of Islamic banking products.
What we are going to implement is not Sharia system, and it is not Islamic system. We are just going to borrow that component of Sharia which is relevant to the financial sector.
The Islamic banking system, according to Bank of Uganda, will be open to all religions. By enabling Islamic banking, financial experts think African countries like Uganda will be better placed to attract cheap capital from Muslim states.
Tucked away in a cottage in Johannesburg, these entrepreneurs are doing their part to serve up an alternative, sustainable source of protein.
Crickets are insects that are jam-packed full of protein and other vital micronutrients, smaller nutrients that your body essentially needs that we typically get from vegetables.
Ndoki is a sustainable farming business focusing primarily on crickets.
The bigger dream is feeding Africa and South Africa and its people the best nutritious food that we can find, but farm it, more importantly, in the most sustainable way that we can.
Easy and quick to farm, Ndoki's vision could soon become reality.
The eggs, they are incubated for about 2 weeks, after which they hatch and they become little baby crickets that look like ants. From there, it takes 4 to 6 weeks, depending on the temperature at which they're kept. Once they're adults, then we keep them, they have a lifespan, an adult lifespan of about another 4 weeks, in which time they lay eggs. And then after that, once we've harvested some eggs, then we can kill them after that.
The challenge lies in persuading South Africans to swap their chicken wings and steak for crickets. To do this, Ndoki is highlighting the environmental benefits of eating insects.
We've compared the two protein forms together, and 1 kilogram of a steak versus 1 kilogram of protein flour from a cricket. You would need 10 kilograms of feed for 1 kilogram of cow, whereas we would only need 7 kilograms of feed for 1 kilogram of protein flour. The most striking fact is that in order to get 1 kilogram of steak, you need 10,000 liters of water for 1 kilogram, whereas we're probably going to be using 3 liters of water for the crickets for 1 kilogram.
Although it's still in its infancy, Ndoki hopes to change mindsets and bring a sustainable solution to the dinner table.
New tonight, stunning video from a MARTA station. A group of strangers being hailed as heroes tonight after risking their own lives to save a man who fell onto the tracks.
Yeah, the man was visually impaired, making his rescue even more urgent.
The entire dramatic scene was all caught on video, and the night team's Kai Beach spoke with the man who had his camera rolling.
From average Joes to superheroes. That's what people are saying happened here at the 5 Points MARTA station today.
He's screaming that he broke his leg, that he couldn't find his glasses.
Jason Molyneux took the cell phone video of the life-saving rescue. A group of strangers banding together to rescue a partially blind man who fell from the MARTA train platform onto the train tracks this morning. Watch as these two men risk their own lives, jumping down on the train tracks and grabbing the man by his legs, hoisting him up, narrowly avoiding the deadly third rail.
I was scared that they were going to get electrocuted.
And these tracks, well, they're extremely dangerous. Each third rail has 750 volts of electricity running through it. It's an extremely dangerous area.
MARTA Police Lieutenant Ashton Green says today's rescue shut down MARTA services, but only for a few minutes.
Saving a life, 5 minutes, go back to business as usual, that's impressive.
And this rescue, inspiring. Lieutenant Green says seeing these people lifting this man to safety is lifting his spirits and restoring his faith in humanity.
You see officers coming on the scene, pulling people up, coming down the stairs. It's a fascinating example of people working together to save someone.
The man who fell was taken to Grady Hospital with a leg injury. He's expected to recover.
But there was a split second where I looked around and said, there's no police here, you know, is this me? Do I need to be the one that jumps in? And yeah, I looked, I don't remember looking for a train, but I did look at the rail and just hopped right in.
Wow.